People often say like father, like son, to connect a father's traits with his child's, hinting at a mix of good and bad qualities passed down. Yet, is it fair for kids to bear the consequences of their parents' mistakes? This dilemma echoes in the minds of those affected by the Holocaust, who grapple with the aftermath of World War II. When we think about Goebbels, Himmler, and Göring, we usually picture them as heartless monsters, but the reality is a bit more complicated. Besides being war criminals, they were also family men. Surprisingly, the fates of their children took unexpected turns, ranging from collaboration with war criminals to rejecting the memory of their parents. In this video, we delve into the lives of the children of Nazism, exploring who they were and what happened to them. Magda Goebbels, for example, had 6 children: Helga, Hildegard, Helmut, Hulda, Hedwig, and Heidrun. Interestingly, all their names started with an H as a tribute to the Führer. It's worth noting that forming a large, purely German family was considered a crucial aspect of Nazi social doctrine. Unfortunately, these children would end up as the last victims of their parents' misguided ideologies. The tragic climax occurred on May 1st, 1945, when the Goebbels family sought refuge in a bunker alongside Hitler as Soviet forces closed in on Berlin. Faced with an uncertain future, Magda Goebbels made the horrifying decision to poison her own children before taking her own life alongside her husband. In a poignant letter to her eldest son, Harold, who was a prisoner of the Allies, Magda expressed a bleak perspective on the post-war world. She wrote, "The world that comes after the Führer and National Socialism is no longer worth living in. I took the children with me because they are too good for life to come. A merciful God will understand me when I give them salvation." Harold, on the other hand, remained a prisoner until 1947, after which he led a comfortable life as the heir to his biological father's automotive empire. Let's learn about what happened to the children of Heinrich Himmler, who played a significant role as the right hand of the Führer and was in charge of the SS, as well as overseeing various concentration camps. His daughter Gudrun, nicknamed Puppy, became a prominent figure in Nazi propaganda. Gudrun embodied the ideal Aryan girl, always adorned in patriotic Bavarian attire. Following the war, Gudrun and her mother faced arrest by British soldiers who held them as prisoners of war until 1950. Even after her release, Gudrun staunchly stood by her father's ideology, unwavering in her commitment to Nazi ideals. In 1951, she took a controversial step by joining an underground organization dedicated to assisting former SS members in evading capture. Among those she aided was Klaus Barbie, infamous as the Butcher of Lyon for his brutal treatment of prisoners. Throughout the 1950s, Gudrun furthered her involvement by working for the West German intelligence service. Until her passing in 2018, she remained a Holocaust denier and World War II revisionist. Gudrun took pride in her family name, opting to use her married name in everyday life to sidestep potential inconveniences. Ella Göring, the daughter of Luftwaffe commander Hermann Göring, lived a unique and challenging childhood during the tumultuous era of Nazi Germany. Growing up in a secluded residence in Berlin, she experienced a life filled with opulent gifts in the form of valuable artworks from her influential father, who held a prominent position as one of Hitler's top leaders. However, the end of World War II drastically altered her world when, at just 8 years old, she found herself in a vastly different situation. With her father captured as a prisoner of war, Ella and her mother sought refuge at the Palace Hotel, located in territory controlled by the United States. Their lives took another turn in 1946 when they were eventually released. The aftermath of the war brought the Nuremberg trials, during which Ella was granted the opportunity to visit her father regularly. Tragically, her father chose to end his life with a cyanide pill in October 1946. As she entered adulthood, Ella transitioned into a role caring for her elderly mother at a rehabilitation clinic. Engaging in political activities, she attended the funerals of her father's former associates. However, as time passed, she withdrew from public life. The valuable artwork she received in her childhood were not spared from the complications of repatriation lawsuits, resulting in the loss of most of her cherished gifts. One of the most fascinating and extraordinary stories involves Ralph Mengele, the son of Joseph Mengele, infamous as the Angel of Death for his heinous medical experiments during one of the darkest chapters in history. Joseph Mengele fled to South America in 1945, leaving behind his one-year-old son, Ralph. Raised by his mother and grandparents in the somber aftermath of post-war Germany, Ralph's early years unfolded in a challenging environment. Despite an unspoken agreement to avoid discussions about his father, it was inevitable that Ralph would eventually discover the shocking truth about Joseph Mengele's identity as the notorious experimental doctor of the Third Reich. Joseph, wanting to maintain secrecy, wrote to his son using various aliases to conceal his whereabouts. Ralph's desire to meet his elusive father developed into an intense obsession, fueled not so much by affection as by an insatiable curiosity. The long-awaited meeting occurred in 1977 when Ralph, armed with a stolen passport, traveled to Brazil. The encounter was fraught with tension, and when the conversation turned to Auschwitz, Joseph, now 66 years old, defended his actions by asserting that he was merely determining who was fit for labor. Despite the meeting's emotionally charged nature, Ralph later expressed disbelief in his mother's account of events. While Ralph never disclosed his father's location, the meeting in Brazil marked the end of their relationship. In a symbolic move, Ralph adopted his mother's last name, severing ties with the infamous Mengele legacy. Joseph Mengele met his own demise in 1979, but it wasn't until 1985 that the details of his death became public knowledge. Let's talk about Albert Speer Jr., the son of the Nazi architect Albert Speer, who was a close friend of Adolf Hitler. Like his father, the younger Speer also became an architect, following in the footsteps of his grandfather and great-grandfather. Despite his family name being associated with the dark history of the Nazi regime, Albert Speer Jr. managed to carve out a successful career in architecture. From a young age, Speer Jr. distanced himself from his father's troubling legacy. He openly acknowledged the crimes committed by his father, who, as the Minister of Armaments and War Production, played a significant role in supporting the Nazi war machine. The Nuremberg judges were somewhat lenient in sentencing Albert Speer Sr. to 20 years in prison. His defense argued that he was more of an artist compelled by circumstances than a direct perpetrator of violence. This portrayal helped him avoid the death penalty. Upon his release, Albert Speer Sr. went on to write memoirs that depicted him as an ordinary person, surrounded by monstrous circumstances. His son, Albert Speer Jr., went on to establish himself as a distinguished architect. He contributed to the design of buildings for the Olympics in both Germany and China, showcasing his talent and distancing himself from the dark past associated with his family name. Albert Speer Jr. passed away in 2017, but his architectural legacy lived on through his office. Even after his death, his firm continued to manage several soccer stadiums, which are set to be used in the upcoming Qatar Soccer World Cup at the end of the year. Now let's take a look at Wolf Rudiger Hess, the son of Rudolf Hess, who was a close associate of Adolf Hitler. Wolf was born in 1937 and given the name Wolf, which was a secret code for Adolf Hitler. Like many other children of high-ranking Nazis, Wolf didn't believe in the terrible deeds committed by his father. Until his passing in 2001, he expressed deep admiration for both his father and his godfather, Adolf Hitler. The stories of the offspring of those involved in evil actions are varied. Some followed in their father's footsteps, justifying their wrongdoings, while others chose paths far from the shadows of their dark legacies. It's intriguing to explore the different destinies that unfolded. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future uploads.